to the StockinetteZombies. I'm Amy, also known as Janitma.
And I'm Megan, also known as Just Run It, and this is episode 470. Happy
All right.
March.
Yes, March is apparently bringing us some snow, which I do not want.
Do not like. Yeah.
And
My son last night we went to the athletic club, or he went to the athletic club and with his friend, and I picked him, or Jeremy dropped them off and I picked them up, and on the way back they were both talking about S Day. Like, maybe we'll get an S Day because they didn't want to
mm,
jinx it by saying snow day.
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of superstitions when you live in Minnesota about snow days, right? Like, I can't remember. I think it's like putting ice cubes in the toilet. And have you seen some of those? So yeah.
We've never done any of them, but yes, I've
No, my
seen them.
children have never been up into this point so obsessed with a snow day that they did any of those. But this not wanting to jinx it by
Right.
saying
No,
snow
it's
day.
reminding me that we're watching oh gosh, what is it called? Something Point.
Mm.
Um, it's got Kate Hudson, and she's in a wealthy family that owns a basketball team, and
Mm.
she's the head. It's a Mindy Kaling project. Really fun, but they were almost going to get into the P word that they couldn't say the whole episode. Like, don't jinx us, don't jinx us. But yeah, that's a really cute sitcom. I haven't seen one that I liked this much in a while. Um,
Okay, yeah, I think I'd seen ads for it, but I hadn't realized that it was like a television show. I thought it was like a movie.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's Kate Hudson is the main
Yep,
gal,
I've
but it's
seen
also
yeah,
got
I've seen it
Max
on
Greenfield
Netflix,
and
right?
yeah, Max
Yeah,
Greenfield plays her boyfriend, so get a little
love
new
Max.
girl in there. Yeah, a lot of great actors. So, if you
Right.
watch the Mick, the guy from the Mick is in there too, which is a really funny show. So, it's got a lot of good DNA, and is pretty good.
Excellent. Yeah, I didn't have a ton of administrati other than Woot. We had like, I think I had over 100 entries to verify in our
Oh, wow.
ZKKAL. Yeah, there was a lot out there. Congrats to everybody for getting their projects in. We've moved on to
Cable.
lace and yeah, and cables, which is definitely, like, again, if you Ravelry is accessible to you, there is that like fabric characteristic, and you can, like, click it down to cables and lace. And yeah, I've
I
definitely
have
been doing
noticed
some project planning. Yeah.
I have noticed that you have to do a lot of special extra clicking, at least in my Ravelry, to get it to say or.
Yeah.
Like it
Yes.
wants to put lace and cables together. And no, 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 no. I want lace
You
or
could,
cable.
you can do that, but it
You
does
can,
limit,
but it
right?
limits. Like I want to.
Yes. Yes, a lot of really pretty, like, yeah. So top of my list is Hohi's Cake Pop. Really think that
Mm,
that's a fun lace pattern with some mohair. I think that Rachel Unwind Design has a really pretty, like, lace and cable mohair top that I've been looking at. So yeah, the sweater planning has commenced. I hope everybody else is embracing the challenge. And I
yeah.
still have to do my favorite hue for our
Oh yes.
craft sheer luck. So I got to find some green in my life. I don't know where I'll find that.
It's so rare.
Is in my stash. Yes. Yeah, the joke, right? The going
Yeah.
joke with Jeremy is like, didn't you just knit a green sweater? Yes. The answer is
Yes, I
always
did.
yes.
Very observant.
But I mean, you'll see in the finished objects, I have not been knitting a ton of green. So
Oh,
there's
I've
that.
got a friend here. Hold on. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Okay, out of reach. Out of reach. Okay. Come here.
She doesn't want to. Oh, she's getting so big.
Look at these
Hello.
paws. They're so big.
Yes.
Mm,
Growing like a weed.
yes. Getting to be an actual cat.
She's
Anyway,
like, better say that, is what she's thinking. Yeah.
Uh,
Excellent. Did you want to kick off the FOs or did you have any administrati?
um, oh, I thought I had something, but it's gone. So yeah, I can do the FOs here. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you heard that meow, but it was loud to me. Um, I
Zoom
didn't
is
get a
really
sock
good. Most streaming video things are really good at the background noise being, yeah.
cut out. Yeah. I noticed that whenever a person complains about, something out in the yard, like, oh, somebody's mowing, and I'm like, I can't hear it. But I have these socks. This is the textured stripe from Kristen's Knits. I love it. It is really cool. And that is my Farmer's Daughter's fiber. I did enter it, so I got it done in time to enter it for the prizes for them. I don't know what to say. I really love this color. It's just this really weird and interesting brownish green.
Mm-hmm.
And you get it in different lighting and it looks completely different. And so I'm looking forward to the next. That's arriving today if the emails are to be believed. So I will try to cast on and get another one going. I think I enjoyed just playing along so much that I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
So next I have the very important villager mitts. And again,
Woo!
on the camera, they're just so distinct, but in person, you can't see this pattern quite as brightly, but
More
love the
subtle.
yellow. Yeah. And what do I say about these? These are my Eat Sleep Knit yarns one, so I'll enter these into their program. And then oh, I made another pair, but I couldn't find it. So the blue ones with the peachy color, I must have worn them and shoved them in a pocket of something, and I can't find them. I looked in at like 3 coats and our normal mitten bin, and I couldn't find them. So they are stuck somewhere, but it's just another pair of these. So,
Really
and
pretty.
then
That one, the contrast is a lot more noticeable, right? The other
yes,
ones, yeah.
yeah, for sure. And again, like I mean, on camera, this is looking really good.
Hmm.
Um, in person, everything's so fuzzy that it doesn't,
Hmm.
I
Yep.
think if it was just yellow and white without the fuzz, I think it would probably stand out more.
Hmm.
Um, but next we have let's see, yes, OMG heel
Hmm.
on these lovely rooster, I think is the colorway. And it came with this lovely brown for the toes and cuffs. I decided not to do the heels. I think that it's not going to line up anyway, so I might as well make them really interesting.
Yeah. That's a choice, right? Whenever you're doing
Yeah,
self-striping of like, hey, I can try to get like maybe a, really depending on where you end, like large section of yarn, and remove that.
right. There's so
Yeah.
many stripes in this one that it would just be a lot to come back around to the next color. But
Sometimes I like flipping it.
mm,
If that's like
good.
easier,
Yeah,
right?
if
Like
you
if you're
can.
closer,
Yeah,
yeah, do the striping sequence the opposite direction from the outside of the ball versus the inside of the ball.
yeah, that could
Yeah,
work. So
very
those are
pretty.
really fun, and these
Uh,
are husband sized.
I love
So
the contrast color on that. It really makes the rest
yeah,
of the colors sing. Hmm.
it's very, very beautiful brown.
Hmm.
All right, kind of like a purpley brown, right? Just really cool.
Hmm.
All right, I got Bazinga Bright here. This is like a minty colorway from Kato Yarn Co.
Hmm.
It's a party top, so it's a super cropped. I wear it over the top of dresses, and this is my third one that I've made. It's just so much fun. It only
Yeah.
takes the 3 skeins of yarn, so and it knits up really quick. And honestly, I can't remember. Think it was 2.7 or something, right? It's accurately recorded in my projects page, so it's not quite 3 skeins of yarn. Uh,
And there is a like an
eyelet
eyelet motif on
detail.
the arm.
Yep, yep. There's an eyelet detail. We got those pops of green in there that are kind of like mocking, like
Yes, yeah.
mimicking separate, so it's hard to see. Um, But it is good for these kind of wild skeins, um, because it adds a I don't know. I always go with the most interesting. I have a yellow one that has pops of different colors in it. I have a super like every color of the rainbow one that I made from Mitchell's Creations, and then this Kato yarn with the really just such a beautiful bright green. This is what I might enter for my favorite hue. Um, just because right now it's my like I'm loving how this turned out so much.
Yeah, I like it as well. It's definitely minty.
Yes. And then I did end up this was so close to finishing the last time we talked that I wasn't sure if I hadn't talked about it yet. This is my plant people and
Mhm.
it's fully blocked now. And I haven't worn it since I blocked it. One thing I will say, this yak yarn had a high put up, so I didn't even need all of the four skeins that I bought. I did cut into, I want to say, the fourth one, but I have enough left over to make a hat or like a little cowl or something.
Mhm.
Um, I think either that or add in another color and it would definitely make a hat.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think I
but
knew the detail on the arm, so definitely haven't
yeah.
seen the finished object. Yeah. Very cool.
Yep, it's got another eyelet motif there right at the and again this is like heavily blocked for length and so it's kind of not as poofy as it once was, but I wanted to make sure that it got all the way out to my middle of my hand. What did I I did wear this once before blocking and it has done a little bit of felting in the underarm. So uh I think that blocking it will kind of lower those armpits a little bit and cause it to felt less now that I've blocked it. So I think if I were to knit with this again, I would make sure that it was fully blocked before I wore it,
Yeah.
and make sure that I don't, that just that extra rub under your arms, um, just lowering it like an inch or so, I think would take away some of that felting
Yeah.
that had happened. But it's a non-super wash, so it was to be expected.
Mhm.
As much of
Yeah,
my
the
yarn
lace
collection
really
is
opened
done.
up and kind of dropped the arm, the underarm.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. The full yoke is lace,
Yep.
and then so
Very pretty. Very pretty.
yeah, I don't like on camera it stripes, like you take a picture of it and it's got a lot of striping in it. But in person it is not that noticeable or that striped looking at it in person. So that's one thing that it's like, oh, I don't like the way this photographs, but in person, I really like it a
Yeah,
lot.
agree. And you alternated skeins, or that was just part of the skein?
I did alternate skeins, so it is probably creating that stripe that I created that stripe in there, but also it's not fully green, right? It's got a lot of different colors in
Yep.
there, right?
Yep.
Very uh like flashes of the browns, and yeah, it looks like a homogeneous green, but when you take a second look at it, there's like dark, deep brownish greens and then down to I don't know, it's
Like
beautiful.
ogres, plant people have layers.
Yes. Anyway, that was my last one. Woof, that was a lot.
Mm.
But I have set to casting. I did get down to one whip at
Whoa.
the end of February, uh, and it was kind of like I don't even think I might have actually gotten to zero because I think I cast off and then cast on. Like I think I
Wow.
did get to zero. So,
And what did that feel like for you?
well, there's probably a project in the house somewhere.
Okay.
But it did feel very strange to then go, oh gosh, what am I gonna knit next? I had to go and I
Yes.
had to ball a
Yeah.
bunch of yarn and I had, it
Yeah.
was good to
That's
have that sock at the ready.
yes.
The thing that I wanted to, cast on next was just a sock, right? Um, but yeah, I spent like, I don't know, 5 balls of yarn trying to wind up to get to my next two projects. So
That is my universal, right? Like I'll finish a project and I'll be like, oh my gosh, like I don't have anything. Like if I want to, in general, the socks are kind of the fill
yeah.
that interstitial space between projects. But in general, you're like, what now? Right. So
Oh,
yeah.
and I kind of saw it coming because, I had announced the eyelet and the so I'd
Okay.
been like searching and searching and searching and searching. And I was like, oh, I don't even know what yarn I want to use. Like it was just too much like overwhelming. I did limit it. I went into my room where I only had or the box where I only had ZK yarns and said, okay, I need to pull from here. And I laid it all out. And there were only a handful that um, were two, because I want to make tanks and teas. There were only a handful of semi-solid two skein groupings. And so I picked from there. So it depleted the stash of those types of groups because I certainly have a lot that are super variegated that would look good in a project, but because of the lace and the cabling, they couldn't be that wild and still show off
Mhm.
those aspects. So anyway, that was my like, this doesn't happen to me.
Yes, yeah. Fortunately, like oftentimes how I scratch the like I'd like to cast something else on itch as I do a lot of planning while I'm still working on the the
Mhm.
previous project. All right, I'm going to talk about my finished objects. I put these on. My hands are now getting very warm. Similar to Amy, this is some mohair, a different Megan Williams pattern. This is no valley low enough. So it's from the Minnesota 52, no mountain high enough, that no valley low enough, no river wide enough is the cowl. Really enjoying these super fuzzy
Mhm.
mitts. Just held the mohair with this kind of white color, and then this is some teal that's left over from dun 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 my caramelli, which was inspired by Amy's. I think the last you saw it
Oh
was a
wow,
work
yeah.
in progress. So yeah, I did get down to where I had enough of all of the yarns, and
Wow, that
then
is so
added.
oversized for you. It's
It's a
just so
very
not
yes,
Megan. And then
yeah. No, I'm like my daughter is keeping me trendy, right?
there.
She's wearing all of the oversized sweaters, and so as I mentioned, when it was a finished or when it was a whip, like this line in the back, so you do the not to give away
Mhm.
too much of the pattern, but you do the back first, is a little higher on my shoulder versus like with the modeled photos, because I wasn't able to pull the front up through the striping because I chose
Mhm.
my own like thick thin striping motif here. But yes, super love it. The neckline got bound off probably 5 times. It was too loose, it was too tight. I think I ended up, yeah, you can probably see it somewhere like right here. Like every 10 stitches, I actually did a knit two together
Mhm.
as part of the bind off to like really bring it so that it wasn't like flash dance around my
Mhm.
neck. I probably could have, yeah, I probably could have added more fabric, but
Mhm.
it started to look like really, like a really big
Mhm.
hem, right? So I was like, no, I'm just going to try to cinch it in. There was a metric ton of ends to weave in, and like even as I'm here, I'm seeing like, oh, that one popped forward, got to get that one back in. But yes, absolutely love this color scheme.
Mhm.
And then yeah, that teal is what was left over for the mittens. Yeah, I think I covered a lot of the mods previously. The sleeves are definitely not as wide as she left them and puffy.
Mhm.
I incorporated decreases to get it down to I just don't, if a sleeve, like if I'm like doing things with my hands like this, right? Like I'm a hand talker and the sleeve is just like falling down my arm because it's so loose. I'm not a huge fan of that, especially since I do a lot of my day on camera and talking
Mhm.
with my hands. So yeah, I made them a little bit more tapered. And then as per the pattern, it's kind of a little A-line, right? Like you do bring it in towards
Mhm.
bottom. So yeah, this DK weight, the magpie,
Mm.
oh, why can't I think of it?
Swanky.
Swanky is swanky. It's so very soft and lovely. It's and there's like flecks of things in it that you can
Oh,
see, which
fun.
gives it, yeah, a little depth of color, which is also very fun. So yes, the caramelly that was inspired by Amy. This Strata, I had bought
Mm.
the DK weight Cascade BFL
Mm.
from, and it was in a bag
Mm.
from Webs from yarn.com. And um, prior to my planning, I think I had a really light pink here
Mm.
and subbed in the more crimson that came with the
Yeah.
colorways that went into that. And I really like it. It kind of gives more of a rainbow effect
Mm.
with the darker depth of color there. The lighter pink pastel was getting lost with the green, like they didn't have any contrast.
On the
um,
camera, it's looking reading brownish. So,
oh, it's a crimson, like
mhm.
pinky color. Again, I
Okay.
think it's because the green is struggling. I don't know what else to hold up against it, but
No, I can.
to get
Yeah,
rid.
when you say it, I can see it.
Yeah, previously I did have a lighter pink, and then the green was getting lost in that lighter
Mm.
pink. I did a lot of things, a lot of things different on this one. I was worried about the neckline being too wide, so I provisionally cast on and then did
Mm.
did all of the yoke, and then later came back and did the neckline, which allowed me to bind off with this contrast color versus cast on with the contrast color. That really matches. The cuffs are a different color, and then she also had that
Mm.
motif down at the bottom as well. I like it. I think it gives it a little bit of a pop up at the top.
Mhm.
But yeah, not per design. And then yeah, really, really love how it ends down at the bottom there. The BFL is a little more rustic, right? It's not
Mm.
as soft as a merino. It was a non-super wash, so I was a little worried about how it was going to wash up. Like if I was going to get, I didn't want it to grow significantly, but I also didn't want to like lose any of the lose any of the fabric, as it was just appropriate, it just about right. But it's I don't know, BFL has kind of that hand, right? Again, not a
Mhm.
soft, but also kind of has like I can't quite explain it. Not a slick feeling, but a little more of a slick feeling than a merino,
Mm.
I guess. It's less
Mm.
spongy. It's more like distinct, at least this
Mm.
yard was. And the light blue and the dark blue were both that BFL from Cascade. And I would recommend it. It's nice. Again, it's not like super, super soft, but really, really enjoy how it washed up, and I could see it wearing really well. Like you were saying about your underarm, I don't
Mhm.
feel like it's going to get fuzzy at all. Like it's got a strength to it. So yeah, the Strata pullover by Tiff Nealon, and my favorite green here, like popping at you via Zoom. Zoom really likes to turn especially this camera likes to turn my greens like alien green. I feel like the picture of it on Ravelry is more representative of the colorscape. So, um, also had some Lavender Loon DK weight that I got Cheer and Hope. Hope, I think it's Cheer and Hope.
Mhm.
Kind of a Christmassy colorway. Love these speckles and just made some like, standard OMG heel. When I went to turn the heel on the one side, switched over to the contrast color. And yeah, DK weight socks are like zoom zoom, and also like smush smush, right? Zoom zoom smush smush. So
Yeah, I gotta, yeah, it's nice to see how the OMG looks where you just switch for the contrast color too.
mhm. Yeah, it's nice. I've been doing it on a lot of my socks. And then again, gauntlet was thrown. I was like, how much time do I have left before this DK weight challenge is over? I had two skeins of Coleman in the Caribbean Sea, I believe, colorway. And then did some like silly things like, oh, I'll make the neckline, the hems that color as well. No, that was going to be the shortest amount of yardage I had. I also had some leading men fiber arts soliloquy that I held double in the Heather's colorway. It was left over from my Rhinebeck sweater a couple of years ago. So if you go out to my Ravelry, I have a picture of this with the blue as the neckline, and then I ripped out the
Mm.
neckline and had to do it in the gray because my cuffs and bottom hem had to be the gray. So I didn't want to have a blue neckline and then have these. I mean, I don't know. A
Mhm.
non-knitter probably wouldn't even notice. They'd be like, oh, commercially, somebody made a decision to make it that way, right?
Mhm.
Um, but there was a lot of trying to stretch the yardage on this. So like got into when I ran out of my first ball of Coleman, which I had hand balled because it's the silk and linen. And then I made the sleeves about as long as I thought I could, both of them. And then I came back and I did the body and then realized, oh crap, I'm not going to have enough to do the cuffs or the bottom. So then ripped out the neckline to reclaim the blue. Added it to the sleeves and then added all of the cuffs. And this is the Ochre Moss by Andrea Mowry. If
Mm.
you look at it, it's a bottom up sweater and it does not have this neckline. So it's kind of a mashup because I wanted to do it top down to like use the most of the yardage. It's a mashup of the Ochre Moss stitch pattern, which is like
Mhm.
this fun color work with a few little garter blips in the color
Mhm.
work, and the metamorphic. This is like actually the metamorphic neckline. And then I just did some yoke increases to get to the width that I want it to be, um, and separated for sleeves. So yeah, it was a journey, but I absolutely love, again, how some of the like it's kind of a gray with purpley and other flecks in it. Like it gives almost like an iridescence.
Mhm.
And the mix of the wool with the cotton and silk makes it a very interesting garment as well, right? Like
Mm.
past Megan maybe would not have played around with that as much as current Megan did
Right.
with this project. So also like just the difference between, definitely here in the winter, you wash a sweater, you lay it out to dry that day, you're like, oh, sweater is dry, right? With this, with the silk and it's cotton, right? No, silk and cotton, silk and linen for Coleman. Trying to
Oh,
remember.
silk and linen.
Hmm. Yeah, silk and linen. Yep. It was wet for a while. My husband was like, "Isn't it dry yet?" I lay things on our um, bedroom floor and turn our ceiling fan on. Um, so I'm like, "No, it's not. It's a different fiber makeup of things." So yeah, super love it. It's a fun sweater. Holding that yarn, the BFL thinner weight together adds some interesting color pops and to the texture, and definitely an addictive kind of potato chippy motif.
Mhm.
Once I got through all of the trying to make the yarn go as I mean down to the last yard. Like I literally had to like rip out a row of this cuff to finish this cuff on the sleeves. So like down to the last drop, every single ounce of what I had left over of the soliloquy, which was like their big hefty put up 600
Mhm.
yards plus another skein and yeah, the two of the Coleman. But yeah, I really like it. I can't imagine it now with the, well, I can because I have the photo, but the blue neckline, right? I really think this makes the contrast pop more.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's really cool.
definitely would definitely recommend it. The smush factor and the yeah, it makes for a nice garment. I know you've made a couple of Coleman garments, so
Yeah. Surprisingly enough, I've made them and then sent them to people. I don't like I only have one that I've kept. The orange one went to Lynn, and I just recently finished a blue one that was a sample knit.
mhm.
Um, and then the one that I kept that's Coleman is a Hohi tank top, I think. But
The staple linen, maybe.
yeah, well, it's a DK weight uh linen lace pattern. I don't
Oh,
remember.
that
It's
the
not the
staple
one.
linen, I think, is just a ribbing. But yeah,
Yeah, this is like got cables that go down and
got it.
are
Yep, yep.
around here. Like, yeah. Um what was I gonna say? Oh, but I have Coleman Light. I did make a really nice Coleman Light that I also kept. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really
I've got
happy
some
to
of
be
that from
comfortable.
last year.
Yeah.
That's like giving me eyes. Like you could make a top for this year with it. So yeah.
Yeah, you really should because I don't know. I've really enjoyed how that one wears. Like wearing it around. I'm like, oh, I really like this. Like I pay attention to it because the fabric just, it's like, oh, it feels nice, it lays nice. Like every time I wear it, it just, I don't want to say surprises me, but I think about it more than I would just any other garment, because of its uniqueness. But
Excellent. We've been
all
busy
right.
and
Yeah,
I've got more plans, as do you. So
yeah,
yeah.
sure do. All right, bye.
Bye, Ufta. All right, I gotta jump. I'm 5 minutes late.